carried. So we're just receiving the report. We're not receive the information in this report. And now we move to item 50, which has really superseded the earlier report, which is why I've dealt with it in that way. And it deals with the main recommendation of the original report, which is to bring the drinking water supply well improvement program for the northwest of Christchurch, to bring it forward for a target completion date, and I'm going to ask some questions about that. But also just to indicate that that it's my intention to remove the reference in B to consideration of temporary chlorination of the affected zone until the deeper wells are commissioned in 2017, but add a new recommendation 3 that staff report back to the council by the end of November with the response of the medical officer of health to these measures, because there are a number of measures that we're taking, and I believe that in terms of the approach in terms of bringing that program forward, then that requires some discussion with the medical officer of health as to whether these measures have met the concerns that were originally raised. So if you'd like to introduce the paper, do you want to, or do you want to just take questions?
Look, I think it's worth a bit of an introduction.
Okay.
A hot topic in the media of recent times, and it's on everyone's mind across the country.
Okay, thanks, John.
So, as we're all aware, we have pretty secure water supplies in most of the city, with the exception of the northwest catchments of the water catchments that come from shallow bores that can be affected by surface activity. There's been a program to deepen these wells, and that program was going to be completed in 2018, so there's a lot of work to be done on that. Most of the wells have actually been drilled, so it's just a matter of proving those wells and completing the headworks, all the mechanical, electrical and technology that goes into that. Talking to the team, they can accelerate that program with no great risk to the water supply. So they believe they can bring these online by March 2017, but what I've said generally, by the end of the financial year, June 17, we could have the deeper wells and have that a far more secure source than we have. We comply with the drinking water standards because even though we have shallow wells, we do comply with the drinking water standards because of the actions in our water safety plan that says we do all these things to mitigate the risk. We do daily testing on the shallow bores, we inspect the headworks, so it's quite a tight regime that we use to manage the quality of that water and reduce the risk. The events up north have caused the medical officer of health to question the water safety plan, and he's asked the question, do you still think it meets all practicable steps for managing the health risk in that community? A fair question to ask. So we've gone back and looked at, and when you look at the legislation, it says that we should take all practicable steps to protect the community from health risks. Chlorination of the northwest water supply is a practicable step, so as a professional engineer, that's what my recommendation was to the ITI committee. Now, I understand that there's a huge public debate to be had about whether we chlorinate or not, and again, so that's where we came to the point, we'd go out and engage with the communities. What there needs to be is a bit of an education campaign about the residual risk that the public actually faced. There wasn't a clear understanding in Havelock North that the delay between the time you take a test and the time you get a result, there's a 24-hour period where you have to incubate the bugs to actually show whether you have a contamination event or not.
Potentially a 47-hour.
Potentially longer. It's a minimum of 24 hours.
Yeah.
So that's the residual risk we're talking about. So while the likelihood is low, the consequences are quite severe, as we've seen. So that's why the community and public health have asked a question. And so we're working with them on the measures that we're taking, and they are quite supportive in the way that this is being managed. So I can accept the recommendation, but I do have a duty to say that chlorination of the northwest supply is a practicable step. Yeah. It would be my recommendation, but I understand the need for community engagement and particularly getting the medical officer of health on board as well.
No, that's absolutely acceptable. I mean, there is no question that it's your public duty to provide professional advice, and that's what you've done. So there's no question about that at all. The question for me though is, has the risk changed? Has the risk changed in the last few years, and when did it change?
The risk hasn't changed.
No.
Havelock North hasn't. We haven't done anything particularly different. We were quite comfortable with the level of risk management we were doing with the city's water supplies.
So it's the perception of risk that's now heightened.
Correct.
But the and really your professional advice is based on the legal requirement to do everything practicable.
Correct.
So
that's right.
Yeah, but it wasn't to front of mind before the Havelock North incident that we weren't doing everything practicable.
That's right. So the water safety plan issue is the key to it.
Yep.
The medical officer of health was satisfied with the water safety plan. It meant that we were meeting the requirements of the Act. The events up north have given them cause to reflect on that. So that's what we're doing.
And that's good, because we want our medical officer of health to be alert to these matters as well. Phil.
So thank you, John. And in addition to the monitoring reports which you've provided to our committee with your Three Waters report, this I guess increases the information. And also though, besides the monitoring which you'll continue to do, that I would assume that information would also go to the medical officer of health, and in turn the medical officer will let us know if in fact we are taking sufficient enough practical steps to resolve this.
Yes, that engagement is going on all the time. In fact, I spoke to the acting, Alice's replacement just this morning, and they're very comfortable with the approach that we're taking.
Right.
Yeah.
Thanks, John.
Right. Raf.
Yeah, quick one. I mean, I agree accelerating the programme is appropriate, shutting down shallow bores where necessary and increasing the testing. But one thing we don't really talk about is, if chlorination was introduced even for a small amount of time, I mean, that has potential health impacts as well on people who suffer from impacts of chlorine. Is that something that we look at when we're considering the overall health issues?
It's very rare that there are allergic reactions to chlorine. So there's a very, very small part of the community. The biggest risk for us is those who rely on the water for medical procedures such as dialysis. Other parts of the community who maybe breed tropical fish, those sorts of people, they will be affected by it. But very, very rare skin-related illness from chlorination. I mean, it happens globally.
Okay. Yes, Vicky?
How long have those bores been at the current level? How long has there been shallow bores in the
Oh, since we, I don't know the whole history, but for a very, very long time, yes.
Yanni?
Yeah, just wanted to check on the coast of Sweden. Major action came out for the reservoir. And it says on the defect.
Have you got your speaker on?
Sorry.
What page was that, Yanni?
Page 392. The two reservoirs.
Sorry, you're going back to the first
Just
report.
going back to the early
29.
report.
Yeah, sorry.
I'll
I just had a
allow
really
the
simple-
question because it's on a similar topic, but we've
Yeah,
dealt with the paper.
I just basically wanted to know what the time frame was for those two repairs being done, and whether those are new facilities that are just being built, or whether they're old facilities that have been earthquake repaired.
Oh, there's a whole lot of crack repairs going on all the reservoirs, and the team here are actually have a program for putting impermeable barriers on all of the reservoirs.
So these are new buildings, or these are old buildings?
All of them. So it's
One of the things you'll find from those previous results that there were a number of the contamination issues we got were from reservoirs, so we are tightening the roof so that you don't get that accidental from birds and things entering into those reservoirs. So we are locking down all the potential contamination routes really into the network as part of the repairs.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to understand, like, when that work will be complete.
We can come back to you on that.
Okay. I would imagine, we're talking about the same time frame by the June 17.
Right. Okay.
Pauline?
Sorry I was a wee bit late back in. I hope you haven't covered this already, but in the meantime, how viable would it be for council to provide water stations around out there that people could actually, if they chose to, fill up drinking water containers? Would that be a very big cost burden for us to bear, so that we could carry on at the level of risk, but if people chose not to drink that water, that we provide them with some other water?
I think that would be an unnecessary step. And
No, but how viable would it be? Very costly for us to do that if we wanted to?
no, it all comes at a cost.
We did that in the earthquakes, didn't we? We had water trucks around for a while.
All I would be suggesting is if people wanted to do that, they could certainly know, I'm sure most people would have a friend who were outside of that area that could actually go and fill as many water containers from another part of our network if they wished to.
That's true, true. Because that might be a way around it for people to, if they didn't want to take the risk, then they just drink different water. It's only the drinking water that really is the risk, isn't it?
It's a risk when you clean your teeth, so it's all that sort of contact, it's whatever goes into your mouth really, it's that, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Yep. All right. I'm happy to move the recommendation. Do I have a seconder, Rab? Oh, yeah. Is there any discussion? I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Those opposed say no. That's carried. Thank you very much.